Live, guys, and we are
Do
live. Welcome, everybody, to our discussion of Hunter x Hunter. Fantastic movie. We're going to be discussing it today with David Swords, Patrick from Hapcheetah Review, Mary Wilson, and An American Werewolf in Jersey. Mike.
Yo.
Um, yeah, I've been looking forward to this discussion. I watched this movie when it first came out in the middle of lockdown. I rented it on Amazon, and no one really ever talks about this one. I hadn't really met anyone else that had seen it, to be honest with you. So it'll be good to talk about it.
Right here. It was, I covered this. It's, I think it's currently streaming on Hulu.
Okay.
That's where I watched it.
Yeah, it's currently streaming on Hulu. It's been on there for a while. It's one of those ones that they never pull. And I don't know why. I guess no, I think it's one of those things no one's watching. Like, you don't know it.
Yeah. Well, let's just do a quick little round robin here on our initial thoughts. What did you think, David?
I loved it. First time watch. Loved it.
I wasn't sure if you would love it or not because it's kind of a slow burn. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you like those. Sometimes you don't. Just depends, I guess, on the movie. But
I was engaged the whole time, so I mean, I never feel like it dragged from me. So I enjoyed it.
Patrick, what did you think of this movie?
Well, I can't wait for the Gygax fan films that are coming out this week. Unfortunately, my copy did not play in my machine, so I am just a spectator for this one. I'm going to be serving the rest of the night their dinner while they talk about this movie.
What are we having, Patrick?
Roasted lamb or something like that.
Oh, that sounds good. All right.
I was hoping for baby deer, but okay.
I was going to say fried pork. I was going to say corgi pizza, but you know.
It's Halloween after all.
Mary, what did you? By the way, Patrick did not get a chance to watch this one, so we're going to spoil it thoroughly for him. What did you think, Mary?
I liked it. It was a good thriller mystery. Yeah, keeps you on edge to the end. Yeah. And oh my god.
Yeah, good endings.
Yeah.
And Mike, you're a fan, obviously. What's your sort of initial thoughts on it?
I just think it's great. It's extremely raw. It's very much in the tradition of Bone Tomahawk, like you said, with slow burn, and then it just explodes.
Yeah.
It just sort of explodes. And I'll watch anything with Nick Stahl, like we were saying before we went on.
Yeah, I wasn't getting horror vibes up until like the last 15 minutes of the movie. It's more like what's that?
I was going to say there is a pretty consistent sense of dread through the film, though. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely isn't a straightforward horror movie, for sure.
No.
But yeah, I by the way, I loved it. Great movie, and yeah, like I said, great atmosphere throughout. For me, like I like slow burns, and I was fully engaged in this one the whole time. And yeah, that ending is powerful.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll just jump right on into this thing. So we start with the family, right? They're living out in the wilderness, sort of like very disassociated from any type of society. We got a mother, a father, and a daughter.
Whose property is this? Like,
it was his family's property, but it got taken by the government, and he just continued living there.
Okay. I thought so, but I was like, did I miss something? But no. Okay.
Yeah, I guess
Right.
that's why they couldn't go out and do anything for him, right? The federal services or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, we right off the bat we see like how difficult their life is. But it's also kind of interesting, you know, seeing like how I don't know, they're just like living like people lived, you know, 200-300 years ago. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and we get to see that dynamic between the family, right? Because you got the father and daughter who very much want to live off the land, and the mother realizes, hey, we can't make it much longer like this. We need to consider becoming social and moving into town. And the father's just very much against that.
And I think the daughter doesn't know any different, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right.
But she has like zero friends, you know. I mean, like she just has her dad and her mom. That's like her existence.
And her dog.
And her dog.
Toba.
It's definitely not a camping trip, that they're on. It's a very, this is their life, and I think it starts out, I think they're setting traps and like, reading maps and, things like that. And, people always ask that question, if you could live in a previous time, when would you? And I always pick right now. I like air conditioning. I like, being able to hop a train or a plane somewhere or any,
Indoor plumbing's good too.
Yeah, free from disease and, predatory attacks out in the woods. And yeah, I mean, I'm good. I like having a deadbolt and, whatever else, I have in here. And yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Free from disease, you might want to pick a few years back though. It got a little hectic there since 2020 or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, 2019.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult lifestyle, but you see the father sort of like mentoring the daughter, teaching her sort of the way of living that type of lifestyle. I don't remember if they said her age or not, but she's around 12 or 13, right? Something like that.
I think so.
Like that, yeah.
Very sort of looking like a tomboy. And they realize when they're out checking the trap that there's a wolf that's been sort of plaguing them, right? Eating the trap line. So now we have a little bit of tension introduced. But I thought the father and the daughter had kind of like they had like a sweet relationship kind of, right? Even though the father was definitely like the strong silent type, but you could tell that they had that camaraderie when they were out there. What did you guys think of sort of their character dynamic?
I got a very Jason Statham vibe from Devin Sawa's character. I don't know why.
Strong silent type, right?
A strong silent type.
I thought he was. It was even a little further than that. I thought he was like a bit of a super introverted, kind of type. It wasn't. Because it's just you get to that one scene where he thinks he's going to talk to someone, and he doesn't know how to form the words anymore. Hello, like he has to go through the routine of doing that kind of thing. It's weird because there aren't many movies like this. Nowadays, this is one of the few, and the only thing I could think of to compare it to, which is a completely different movie, is M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Yeah,
which is a much more romanticized kind of thing. This is much more hard scrabble. That they're out of money, and they're it starts out where they're starting to hit skid row. It's things have really started to bottom out.
Yeah, I mean, you think like, if you watch your standard movie and someone's talking about being poor, then they're like, oh, they might get evicted. But these guys are like, we can't eat food. We don't have things to put in our face to sustain our life.
If you don't shoot it, you don't eat. Or if you don't trap it, you don't eat.
Yeah, and they don't have the option of going to the ATM and hitting the market. Okay, well, all right, we're short this week. We'll go into the stores, and they don't have anything. So it literally is sustenance. A sustenance kind of existence.
Yeah.
I question the wisdom. Of doing this sort of thing nowadays, because there's a reason that people have moved away from that kind of thing. And that society, especially Western society, has options.
Yeah, but I mean, some people find like there's like survivalists and stuff. Some people just find it super rewarding to like, go live off the land and like, just like set traps and make like shelters and shit. I mean, people just find that really fulfilling. So different strokes.
Another movie that comes to mind that's recent is the remake of Wrong Turn. You get this society that lives out in the woods, and there's sustainable. They do come to town every once in a while to sell some of their goods and stuff, but yeah, not very.
I guess in Wrong Turn they had like a big community. Right?
Yeah, that's just what I was. Yeah, as opposed to like 2 people and a kid.
Yeah.
You need, and that's like The Witch. In the beginning of The Witch, where that family moves away and you see them going backwards in the cart, and everyone in the town is looking at them like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" The reason that we're here together in this fenced out community is so that, we have each other to depend on. And the minute they go out there, it just, they go right off the cliff from like the get go.
It's a lot like the Witch. Now that I think about it, in the same way, they're struggling out where they are as well, right? And like,
yeah, they're eating corn.
And sort of a similar family dynamic in a sense too, with the I don't know, and sense of dread throughout that movie is good, strong too as well.
Yeah, phenomenal.
But so we basically we meet them and we meet the mom, and the mom is sort of I think she's sort of reserved to living that lifestyle. She like sort of chose her husband, that's the life he chose, and so she's living with it, but she's kind of like seeing that it's not super viable, and she's trying to talk him into like moving to a more I don't know, not even the city or anything, just like somewhere where there's like school for their daughter and shit, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, even like you could, I don't know, that type of lifestyle, like nowadays, people like come home from their 9 to 5 and they hang out and they like turn on the TV or whatever. But their lifestyle, you could definitely see like they don't do a lot of like, I don't know, bantering. They just like both of them have their tasks to like live, and they come home and they're okay with being sort of like not super verbal with each other and shit. But sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, you get the impression that it's a very traditional kind of household. He seems to get the final, like she has input, the wife has the input, but he seems to get the final word. Yeah. Like ultimately the decision is his, and so, you can contribute, and tell me what you think, but ultimately I'm the one who's going to make the decision. And I think in this case, that's what's actually causing the problem, because they're reaching this part where, she's tired of getting overruled, I think.
Yeah, she talks about it with him, like, hey, we should do this where we can take our daughter to school and she can have friends and shit. And like, he's like, well, I didn't finish school, what, you think I'm weak? So you could tell right off the bat he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about it, and wasn't really open to having that discussion. But
she got such bad prices at the trader. That's what making her think like, we gotta get the prices, or we're not gonna make it this winter.
Yeah, I guess they have a second winter property further down or something.
Oh, man.
A little less cold.
Not good.
Yeah. But so anyway, the wolf is really like a big obstacle in their life, because it's fucking up their livelihood. It's eating the animals off the trap, and the mom and the daughter in particular are scared of wolf attack. And so the father is like Devon Sawa's character. Let's see, what's his name? Joseph.
I forget.
Joe. Devon Sawa's Joe. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. He decides, okay, well, I'm gonna go hunt this wolf. I need to kill this thing because it's terrorizing us. And he goes with his daughter, right, on their first outing. And we see with the daughter, she's like, my take on it was that she seems very tough. Like she's like, trying to be like the strong sort of like person, a protege of her father. And then a little further on in this scene, when she walks back to the cabin, we sort of get a peek behind the curtain. What's really like sort of, she's not exactly what she's portraying to her father, even though she's kind of badass, by standards. She's still a kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but we see that she's very well versed in the hunting lifestyle, but there's scenes in the movie where she's asking mom what certain words mean that you and I would take for granted, you know. So she's not, I guess, evidently getting the schooling she needs, but she's getting the training and survival skills from her dad that they definitely need out there.
Yeah. I can't remember what that word was, but she asked her mom, and her mom said, "I don't know either." I don't remember what the word was.
Yeah,
but
me too. I forget.
So speaking of the wolf, that was the only thing that kind of took me out of the movie for a second because the CGI was pretty bad on the wolf.
I mean, it's when I think of bad CGI, I think of like Hercules and Legendary Journeys.
The Day After Tomorrow. The Day After Tomorrow wolves are pretty bad.
Scorpion King? Oh, God.
Yeah.
After Tomorrow. Jeez.
So the CGI, it didn't bother me. It didn't look super duper fake. It didn't look necessarily like extra believable, but it didn't take me out of it. But they made the wolf pretty big, right? Well, the wolf confronts the mom and the daughter when they're out doing their laundry in the creek or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is actually after the daughter comes back from the hunt with her dad. Her dad says, like, "I'm gonna keep going. You go back to the cabin or something. If you see the wolf, don't run, right? If he's like fucking with you, take a shot in the air. It'll scare him off or whatever."
Right.
Got the 22, and so she's going back. She gets a little creeped out, and she just starts booking it, dude. Like exactly what she shouldn't be doing. But
they're hearing something in the woods, though. They're hearing there's something. Both of them are hearing something.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the woods. There's all sorts of shit out there.
That's right. Could be a raccoon, and what? Could be anything.
Put the rifle down and get a broom and get that damn raccoon out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
You know, I think what they're starting to find out, though, I mean, because, you know, they're just living this sort of life, and now there's a safety issue. And I think what's actually starting to happen is it's becoming exposed how outmatched they are.
Yeah.
They're just, as a family, individually, they're just overmatched for what's happening to them out there. And, you know, he just doesn't want to admit it. That's kind of the problem. He just won't say it.
Well, he wants to fix it. He wants to solve the problem, right? He's like, I need to go hunt this thing. I'm going to stay out until I do.
Right.
But do you think his motives are for his family, or just to prove to his wife that, you know, he can still stay out here and make it? You know,
number two for me.
Both.
Yeah.
I would say both. I would say they're almost the exact same thing, right? Because his wife is his family, and he's got sort of wants to get different things out of it, perhaps, but like ultimately he wants to take this wolf out because he's fucking with the trap and is a threat to his daughter.
Right.
But in that case, he is like it reminds me of what Dave's saying. I think what Dave's trying. It is like the father and the witch.
Yeah.
You know, he knows that they're not able to survive out there, and he just keeps his family out there. It's just pride. You know, it's just his pride, and so, you know, he makes, you know, bad decisions for the family. I think at some point don't they find like body parts out? He finds body parts out there, and he doesn't tell them. He doesn't tell the family.
He goes hunting for the wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wolf has one apart.
Yeah, he's looking
with the ring missing.
Yeah.
He sees he's looking through the scope. He's going to shoot the wolf. He sees it's got a human hand in its mouth.
Yeah.
And he takes a shot. And I don't know if we know that if he hit it or not. They never really said.
Yeah, right.
But he goes and checks out that site, and what he stumbles upon is like the I don't know, dumping ground for a serial killer, right? There's like obvious victims there, a bunch of them, and a lawn chair where someone can go like sort of hang out and relive their
murders.
Their pretty creepy, interesting little twist. And now we start to see like at that point I'm like, oh, okay, now I sort of get Hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the wolf was the thing, and now
so there's something worse than wolves out there, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
But he maybe should have said, "Hey, listen, I found a bunch of crazy ass shit," because that could have maybe helped avoid a lot of issues throughout the rest of the film. But
yes.
Yeah, then the movie would have been over, but they would be alive, Yeah, we would have had a 30-minute movie, but hey.
We do see like he goes out there, he finds the bodies and stuff, and he tells his wife, "Listen, I'm gonna stay out here to get this wolf," which I sort of felt like he already got. I feel like he's got the wolf. And he's like, I'm going to stay out here till I get it. Doesn't mention anything about the site. Well, I guess he goes back first to get some traps, right? He goes back and even
the big ones.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything. He grabs like I don't know, they're like bear traps. I mean, Jesus, that'd be heavy as shit to hike with those, right?
Yeah, probably 40 pounds a piece.
Yeah. But he goes back with at least 2 of them.
Right.
And he sets them up.
He's Devin Sawa. He's a stud. He can do it.
Is he known as a stud, though? I always think of him just from Idle Hands and Final Destination. Did he do like...
Well, now he's in Chucky.
Okay.
Yeah, Chucky series.
Yeah.
Is he like all studly in that? Is he like...
He's not bad.
Okay.
He was in The Fanatic.
Yes. Yeah, I guess he was like the action star in The Fanatic, right?
Yeah.
So I guess he is kind of studly, I guess.
God.
But yeah, so he goes, he doesn't say shit to his wife, but he they show him fixing up traps, and he's, goes out to catch the wolf, which I think he already caught. Yeah, I mean, this is where we sort of take a little bit of a turn from where we were.
And they have the satellite walkie-talkies so they can talk to each other too.
Well, I feel like they didn't have satellite walkie-talkies. They had
what was it, a radio or what?
The cops had a satellite phone.
They had it, but what did they have? Just
they
regular?
had just like standard walkies.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why she wasn't super freaked out, when she didn't hear from him, because he said like, I might be out of range.
Okay.
The radio might scare the wolf off, so try to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But he goes back, sets the traps, and I guess waits. And the wife is starting to get a little nervous because she is in radio silence from her husband. Hasn't heard much from him. She trusts him and everything, but like she's starting to get a little freaked out. I guess they did when I can't remember when they run into the wolf. I don't remember if that was when he was out the first time hunting, like before he stumbled upon the
I think it was out the first time because she was out getting water in the buckets.
Right.
Had the cloths on them and stuff, and she was running, and the other girl was running and freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of at the same time running.
Yeah, there's like obviously there's no way that the wolf is chasing both of them. It's a lone wolf, not like a pack.
It's Anne and Renee, right?
It is Anne and Renee. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
So at this point, Anne's worried because she hasn't heard from Joe in a few days, and we get introduced to the forest rangers who have the satellite radio. At this point in the movie, I'm wondering if Joe's still out there or if maybe he's somehow tied to these women that were murdered. That's what I was thinking when I watched it.
Me too.
I felt pretty much like he was shocked when he stumbled on those grounds. You know what I mean? Like I had the feeling like he was not connected to those at all. Just random.
But after hearing the forest rangers talk about that being federal land, if someone was trying to encroach on Joe's territory, that seems like something he would take to the extreme to prevent anyone from taking their land. That's just what I thought.
But those were all clearly like young women victims. Like I couldn't imagine like he's just stumbling onto a bunch of young women like cruising around his land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We used to go out in the woods and party on other people's property. I don't know if they were probably too happy about that. We go have a bonfire and those teenagers.
It's also entirely possible that these people were grabbed somewhere else and then brought there.
I guess in the trailer, there was like the trailer kind of misled me because at one point in the trailer, the guy that actually comes to the house later on says your husband's been lying to you. So that I thought maybe that's kind of how it tied into it.
Okay,
it was just,
that might have been where I got it from too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I don't remember actually the trailer too well. But yeah, so he finds out, I guess, the wife Anne brings her daughter Renee to the police station after they have run in with the wolf, right? Saying like, there's a fucking wolf. You guys go like do some shit about it. And that's like when, like you said, when we meet the Rangers, I guess they are.
Yeah.
And they think they think that Renee is a boy, right? He says like, "Oh, your boy out in the car or whatever," and they tell her like, "Yeah, this is federal land. We have no jurisdiction. We can't really do shit for you. Anything else?" And she's like, "Do you have food?" So like, you really get the sense, especially with Joe sort of gone out on the hunt, she's really freaked out that they just don't have anything to eat. Even, you know what I mean? Like, there's the sort of general sense of peril.
There was also a wall full of missing women posters.
Yeah,
up on in the Rangers office. So yeah, I mean, you know, I'm only assuming, but that these girls were grabbed somewhere else, and then brought out there, or killed somewhere else and then brought out there.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. It's gruesome. It's gruesome. It's weird. I remember what I wrote in the notes when I first, because I pulled out my old notes and added a little bit here and there. But I remember thinking there must be people out there that are living like this.
Yeah, it seems like it does seem like there is a as of late there seems to be people homesteading. They're actually going back out there and living off the land the best they can.
Yeah, I live in a semi-rural place. Where the move back to homeschooling, and everybody out here grows their own. A lot of people out here grow their own food. There's a lot of hunting, farm animals and these sorts. Grow your own chickens and have your own chickens and produce your own food that way. There probably is. What I was thinking at the time though was that there were people out there living like to this extent.
Yeah.
I remember an old boss of mine a long time, 15 years ago or so, but he was a hunter and he was bow hunting or something like that. And he, shot a deer and he went over to, collect the carcass. And he said this man ran up on him and, just said that it was his. He had killed it. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he said I ran into him recently and I rehashed that story with him. And that he got the distinct impression like this guy was getting agitated, like he was getting ready to like level his weapon up to like claim this piece of meat. And he was just like, yeah, he saw where it was going. And he's like, yeah, sure, it's yours, no problem. And he got the impression like this guy was actually like, this was his food.
Yeah.
This wasn't something to do like, in a morning, just before I go into work or something like this. Like, there was more at stake. So, there probably are people out there like that. Jesus.
That's crazy.
I guess as far as those killing grounds go too, there was the one woman who was like tied to a tree. So I felt like maybe she was probably brought there alive and tortured or whatever on location. But we don't actually really even ever find out,
No.
Yeah, they're all in different stages of breaking down too.
Yeah.
And that makes it better, I think.
Yeah.
Because it leaves it to your imagination, our 5 individual imaginations to, sort of piece together what's happened. And I like the idea of less is more sometimes in storytelling.
Yeah, because it doesn't really tip you off to the killer's character at all either. Like you don't know too much about him when you do end up meeting him.
No. It's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, they come back from the ranger place, and I guess they're both there. The mom and the daughter are both there. They're freaked out. Dog's acting weird. The dog goes off at some point.
Right.
Yeah, Tova
goes off.
No.
And the mom's like telling the daughter, like, listen, don't worry, Tova can take care of himself. The daughter's freaked out because that's like her best friend, obviously. And the mother finds Tova killed and never tells her daughter about that. So that sort of, I was like, okay, I mean, how you can't really shelter your daughter. I mean, at some point she's going to know that Tova's not coming back. Like, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It was a lot like the father not telling her about the wolf. You know what I mean? It's just like avoiding the issue entirely.
Yeah. That's a big weakness or detriment in this family. That there are a lot of secrets and things that go unsaid, and that's another example. But I mean, I sort of understand this one. Yeah. Because on top of not wanting to freak the kid out about her father being missing, she's going to go in complete meltdown, and she's alone. Like the mom is alone. Anne, is that her name?
Yeah.
Anne is alone. So I mean, if her daughter goes into a meltdown and her husband is missing, it's obvious. They're barely hanging on by a thread as a threesome. Now one's missing. Now the dog's gone. So, mom's hanging on by a 1/10 of a thread. And then if the daughter falls apart.
Right.
It's like if you grow up on a farm, I guess you have sort of a different relationship to seeing like animals die or whatever. And so she's grown up out in this wilderness. Her father's like teaching her how to skin and butcher animals and stuff. I mean, that's just part of her lifestyle. So, but we do see still, even though that's part of her lifestyle, her mom accidentally shoots a baby deer, right? And she has a problem, which is like all I see is the baby deer when I'm eating this. So she doesn't want to eat the meat of the baby deer. So there is still some of that sensitivity. So you do understand why the mom doesn't necessarily want to broach that subject of the dog being killed.
Yeah, and it reverses the roles. They go from the predator to the prey.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different dynamic. So okay, we're eating deer and we're growing this, but it never occurs to them probably that something could be hurting them.
Yeah.
You're no longer necessarily at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, they enjoyed that apex predator status while they could, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're just they've just been holed up in that cabinet alone, no food, forced to eat a baby deer, and freaking out about the dad. At least the mom is quietly, not letting her daughter really know about it or anything. And one night they're woken up. Her daughter thinks she hears Tova out there screaming for help or something. And her mom already knows Tova's not alive. So she's like, no, don't worry about it. It's not Tova. But she goes and she hears like a human vocalization, and she thinks maybe it's her husband or whatever. So she runs out there and finds Nick Stahl's character, who, does he have a name?
Lou.
I
didn't write him down.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
It was Lou.
I'll go with Lou.
It was on his driver's license or something, right? Weren't they looking at his driver's license at one point?
Yeah, it is Lou. It is correct.
I forgot.
So he finds him in a state of duress, injury to his leg, and like summons up the strength to like drag him all the way back to the cabin. And even her daughter is like, maybe. So this is the whole thing. Like, if there was communication where she said, like, listen, I stumbled onto some dude's been killing chicks up here, and I found his ground. Like, she might have been a little more hesitant with the.
Yeah, leery of bringing some strange guy in the house. I would have been anyway. You're gonna stay outside there, brother.
Even the daughter says, like, dad says we shouldn't deal with strangers at all, and she says, hey, if you find someone and help, you help, and that's what you do.
Yeah. I think that Dad knew that if he's told about the body, he wouldn't be able, or the body parts, that he wouldn't be able to form an argument to overrule her anymore. She was going to be like, we're getting the fuck out of here, and you can stay out here if you want to.
That's true.
And so I'm just not going to tell her. I'm going to handle it, just like the dad in The Witch. I'll handle it. He can't farm, he can't trap, he can't fish, he can't hunt, and he packs his whole family off into the middle of the fucking wilderness. And they all die. Because he's too Christian for the Puritans. This guy, similarities.
At least in The Witch, though, he didn't move out there out of hubris. He got cast out of their village, right?
Well, he was cast out of the village because of his hubris.
Yeah,
because he was he was too pure for the Puritans.
Right.
When you're too pure for the Puritans, you're pretty much an insufferable asshole. You're just like, geez, even the Puritans are sick of this guy.
Yeah,
get the fuck out. Shut up or get out.
Like, fucking goody two shoes. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When they left, everybody's looking at them like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It just takes them. Even there's like 2 Native Americans. I'll never forget that. They're like the children of the woods, and they're turning around like, where the fuck are you going? So
good movie.
Great movie. Edgar's best, I think.
I buy that.
Hold on. We got Patrick snickering over here. Hold on.
It's a good movie, Patrick. You know how I feel about A24.
Jeez.
You guys are killing me. Okay, go ahead.
You love The Witch, dude. You love Black.
I do love The Witch, but I would save The Witch for I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It's a great movie. What can I say? I love The Witch.
Yeah, don't be racist against the witch. Just
Black Phillip is one of my favorite icons.
Black Phillip.
That's such a good song, dude.
Yeah. Dude, that scene where they're viewing in on Philip, and it's like he's got his eye, he's giving people the side eye.
Yeah.
That's just fucking chill. It really looks like he's just fucking listening and smirking, the whole time, and you're like, holy shit, that goat is scary.
They made him too cute. He's too funny. It made him, honestly, that sort of took me out of the movie when I was watching it. It took me out because I was just like the way he was running around, prancing around, and it was funny. It made me, it was like I loved it. It was funny. And then when he attacked the dad, I didn't have the same impact like I should have because I thought that he was so cute.
Yeah, that's why you'd be the first one getting rammed by Bat Phillip while you're over there admiring the goat. He's the rest of us are hightailing it out of there.
No, I probably be pulling the leash and trying not to let the cheetah get at it. So that would be me. But
so speaking of the witch, they are in the cabin, and they bring him in. They give him some first aid. He's on the ground. The daughter is leery because her father's always taught her not to fuck with strangers, and
it's Nick Stahl.
And it's Nick Stahl.
That's reason enough to be leery.
Yeah, but they don't know of Nick Stahl's pedigree.
That's fucking Nick Stahl. Don't let him in here. Right. This is bullshit.
Exactly. But the daughter's like, haven't you fucking seen Nick Stahl before?
I saw Terminator 3. Fuck that.
Why do they call you the yellow bastard for? What does that mean?
But now we have the dynamic where the mom's, like trying to help the stranger. And honestly, like if I saw some dude out in the fucking wilderness dying of like a leg wound, I knew there was a wolf out there, I'd probably bring him home without knowing him.
Here's a question. Do you think that he's dinged up. I got the impression that he dragged himself there after running into Joe.
Yeah.
Like Joe didn't, like Joe, he did not get out of that unscathed. He might have won, but Joe fucking, gave him what for.
Yeah.
Until,
Well, Joe Joe might have been the one that took him out of the trap, maybe.
I don't know. Like his leg was not like. I didn't really understand the full nature of his leg wound. They said it was a bite. I don't think his leg was broken because he was walking on it later, right?
Right.
He would have gotten bit if more than anything, because if he would have gotten that trap, he wasn't going to walk.
It was compound. The bone was sticking out of it.
Oh, okay. Then he did.
Was it really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, you got that then. Those traps are absolutely wicked.
Yeah, I think
it was a bad trap.
Yeah.
You think it was the trap?
Yeah, he put a couple of them out there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So around the girls, and then he might have been taking them out. Like, all right, I got you now. I'm gonna
just find a hide site.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have taken him out of the. I mean, what's he going to do? I'm going to take you back to the house.
How do you get yourself out by yourself, though?
He was out there to kill that dude if he saw him, right?
For sure. Yeah.
He might have lost his nerve, and then again, it's Nick Stahl, man. It's Nick Stahl.
Well, dude, you never know. Devin Sawa was like,
Yeah. Nick Stahl's not to be sneezed at, especially out there in the middle of the woods.
It sort of, I'm hearing you guys discuss this, and it really, you could take that lesson to apply it today. And it's like, man, what do you do if you're driving and you see, let's say you're driving on the road, you do see a car parked to the side. Are you going to go ahead and stop and help, or are you just going to keep going? It used to be like you pull over automatically. It wouldn't be a thought. It'd be like pulling over and then helping. But I guess especially in the urban areas, I can honestly tell you, I would stop. But now these days, I'm not so sure I would. Quite honestly, because you just never know who you're going to run across.
I guess
I'm just not quite as that cynical, and I'm also not out in the wilderness.
I don't know if it's cynicism, Ben. I just think it's just the way of the world. It's you're aware, you're wary of it. You're more leery. It's like, the days of just walking over and helping somebody, shaking their hand and whatnot, isn't always happen that way. I mean, there's just been too many cases where someone has done that and end up losing their life for it.
I'm still going to help.
That sounds like the definition of cynicism to me.
No.
Now, well, from the semi-rural perspective, I would say that people around here actually do tend to help each other out.
Yeah.
Maybe in the urban centers, it's like 7, where Morgan Freeman says, minding your own business is a science.
That's
that kind of thing. But in the rural, smaller communities, people tend to help. Everybody kind of knows everybody, and if not, then hey, is everything all right? That kind of thing. Even if you slow down and roll down the window, that kind of thing. What's going on? That kind of thing. Yeah.
I get the feeling like here in Oakland, 30 people will walk by some dude laying on the ground without checking to see if he's okay.
Exactly.
Someone in like the forest, though, when you're hiking and they're like in duress, you're gonna be like, I would think more apt to help them. It's more old school to do that.
Yeah, I saw a couple of dumbasses actually. It was a few months ago, and there's a bus station right along the highway stop, and I was walking into this little deli market that we have in our town, and this guy is like laying with his feet almost in the highway, and you could see in New York, people would walk right over the guy. For even if I was in Atlantic City, 500 people would have walked right past this dumbass, this sort of thing. Here, people were stopping and what the hell are you doing? Are you all right, buddy? That kind of thing. And he was just some dumb kid. So they just yelled at him, to get this, don't cause a damn accident. Stop being a dumbass, that kind of thing. But, people do intercede.
Well, we got some big roads down here, and the guy stopped, and him and his son, and broke down, and he went and crossed I-75, and he got hit by 3 cars. 1, 2, 3 hit him. Yeah, so.
What the hell kind of
He
cosmic
should have
luck
just
is
stayed
that?
on the one side of the road he was on. I don't know why he was trying to cross. Maybe he saw a gas station or something, but go to the exit and go up underneath. You never try to cross that road, ever.
I feel like the age-old answer would be to get to the other side, right?
Why did you do that? Well, I was trying to, yeah. Tells the doctor, well, what were you thinking? Well, I wanted to get to the other side.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Either way, she does bring him in, and she does try to help him out. And what we know is that it's a clear bad idea, but she doesn't know that, and she doesn't really have a sense of that until she finds her husband out there having been murdered by someone, right? And she sees that he was pulling him on a sled too, right?
Yeah.
He had a sled, and there was like a blood spot where the leg would be. And then, she saw that he had been murdered. And so she gets tipped off that he's got, he's not a safe stranger that they should be helping. You know what I mean? She rushes back to the cabin to make sure that the daughter's okay. She walks the whole perimeter, peeking in the windows, just to make sure, right? And she sees her daughter's okay. And I think she saw that he was not. Oh no, she saw him in bed.
He's laying down.
He was laying down. The daughter was okay. She goes in the cabin, and he knocks her out, basically, right?
Yeah, and I said that that this was kind of at the point of the movie where we went from wolf to werewolf.
Yeah.
Because this is a very bad person. That they've stumbled across out there, and it's not some charming, Mads Mikkelsen, Hannibal Lecter type.
Yeah,
this is a bad guy. This is a very, very bad person.
I also there's a scene where they're like, okay, we need to get the truck. We need to get this dude to a hospital. We're gonna drag him, and he's like being a little bitch about it. I would have said just like, I don't give a fuck, man up. Whatever. I'm dragging your ass. I wouldn't be like, oh, it hurts. Let's go back in the cabin.
Let's go.
Even if I was helping him, I'd be like, dude, this is what needs to happen. Otherwise, you're gonna die from sepsis or some shit. So
he's like Kurt Russell at the end of Death Proof. I love that. He's just screaming and yelling.
That's a strong ending, dude. I love that.
Yeah. After all that, he just ends up just screaming like a little baby.
Yeah. I think like it ends with like an axe kick to his face.
Kurt Russell. Man, Mike.
But I guess she's like whatever, acquiesces and takes him back. But she realizes that he's a threat, and he chokes her out when she gets back. He chokes her.
I never would have left him in the cabin with my daughter alone. No way. When she went out looking for her husband and found him, she left her daughter in that cabin with him. There's no way I would have. He's just too creepy.
I also took it as a bad sign, the types of weapons that they had.
Yeah.
They were, it was not good. Not good what they had on them. They definitely needed an upgrade for that sort of thing. Did she have a pistol? I don't even remember. They didn't even have any handguns. They didn't even have any handguns. Yeah, you're like, what are you thinking? Going out there like this. You have no business being out there.
But didn't she hide some of the traps when she left, though?
She was.
There weren't some traps on the walls that she ended up hiding before she left.
She was working on one. I remember the one Sawa was doing at the table, and she fixed that, I guess, while he was missing.
I think she felt like, because at some point she's like fixing up traps, and she's like, okay, he's not here. We got to go out and set the line.
Right.
This is shit that needs to happen for us to live. But
wasn't that what she was doing? She went out to check the traps and found some more like paws stuck in traps, and that's when she found her hubby Dell, right?
I can't remember if that's when she found him or not.
I don't know either. I can't remember.
She heard his walkie.
Right, that squawked.
Wait, is that what happened? Though, because don't one of the deputies, one of the rangers, go out there?
Yeah,
he did, but he just seen the car that was on the side of the road. He never did go out in the woods or nothing.
Well,
yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. We got to.
Later on, he did though.
Am I jumping too far ahead? Okay,
I
think that's already happened by the time. So I think we've already crossed that line. But he goes out to help some like yuppie with the big property, right?
Oh, the bear problem. The bear problem. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's the only levity in this whole movie.
Yeah,
and he goes about the black bear.
He goes back. He sees a car on the road, and then he gets called back later. And he sees that same car, and he's like, okay, what the fuck's up with this car? We're going to go check it out. And both him and Joe have saw the marks on the trees that led them to that killing ground area. And he finds it, and he's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And he goes over there and steps in a trap, right?
Oh, man, that's a brutal scene.
Yeah.
Steps in a trap and then gets his arm caught in another trap.
Oh, yeah, he rolls over. Oh, Jesus
like the first time you're like, oh, shit, that's crazy. Well, maybe he can pry it open. Then he goes like, and it gets his arm.
Oh, my God.
That's a bad day.
Yeah.
Oh. I just saw a movie recently, too. Oh, it was A Quiet Place, too.
Yeah.
Did you see that with the little boy in the beginning? He gets caught in the trap, and for some reason his leg it doesn't break his leg. I don't even think it breaks the skin somehow. He gets very lucky. He gets caught in one of Cillian Murphy's traps.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm very afraid of bear traps. So you all know that.
Yeah, they're pretty brutal, dude. I guess the trap thing. That was pretty brutal, but we see some more trap stuff here in a little bit. But anyway, that whatever he is, the male ranger guy goes out there and obviously doesn't come back. His wife's calling, like, where is he? Does he sleep on the couch there again at the ranger office? And so the female ranger also goes out, like, where the fuck is this dude? And she finds him, his vehicle. And she is yelling for him. He hears her, fires off rounds so she can find him. But basically, he's still alive, and they, they stumble upon that fucking murder scene, so they get a lot of backup going. So that's sort of happening in the periphery. There's all this cop activity nearby. Everyone knows that there's a serial killer now, and they're sort of looking around the ground, right?
I swore when she came out there that she was going to get caught in the trap too.
Right.
I thought that was going to happen, and they both were just going to die. Like they were just going to be written off that way. It wouldn't have surprised me.
Or maybe the killer was going to get her.
You needed for story-wise, you needed them there for the ending. So I'm glad it played out the way it did. The mom is basically we now know that Nick Stahl is the killer.
We've always known that Nick Stahl is the killer.
Sure. But now I guess it's out in the open. Everyone knows.
Everybody knows.
Everyone knows, and he's not hiding it either. So at first he was playing like the victim and being all like charming and shit. And now he's like, whatever, I'm gonna choke this bitch out and then kill her daughter. So he basically chokes her unconscious, goes and kills the daughter, and is like,
he's got to put his Walkman on though first.
Well,
he's got to play his music.
He does that after she wakes up though, like when he goes to actually deal with her. But he's like, basically she's just sort of like on the ground, beaten, and like I guess still having a trouble breathing or whatever, and just is laying there while he's getting prepared to leave or whatever. He's burning evidence and all sorts of shit, right?
Yeah.
So we don't see daughter's death, right?
We don't see her like actual death, but we see her reaction to the body.
Yeah.
I guess that
That's good enough though. Just the look
Yeah.
on her face is like,
Yeah.
ooh.
That happens after. That hasn't happened yet. So she's still laying on the ground. She doesn't know what's up. She's like, just pretty much incapacitated.
Yeah, he's asking for the keys to the truck, and she's can't speak, and he's tell me where the keys to the truck are, and I won't hurt your daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Little does she know the daughter's been hurt already, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so he starts this fire. He's burning evidence, and that plays a little bit of a role. What did you guys think of sort of the confrontation between the mom, what the fuck's her name, Anne, and Lou? How did you guys feel about how this sort of third act is playing out?
You mean the ending when she's got Lou?
No, just sort of like when she realizes what he is and that he killed her husband. Like just going into that final confrontation. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on this story, David?
That was my favorite part of the whole movie, the third act. I mean, just when she gets back to the cabin and she's circling around looking at windows, and we don't see. Well, we see it, the daughter asleep, and then we see him laying in the bed, but he's awake, waiting for her to come back in.
Right.
I mean, that was a very tense moment, and then to find out that he is the killer and that he, has killed Renee off screen. I didn't think she was dead until the very last
look on her face,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, that was shocking. I
mean, it's like, no, we like her.
Yeah.
She's probably one of my favorite ones in the whole movie. The character.
Yeah.
It's her.
But that just shows how crazy this guy is. I mean, he has no remorse for anything he's done.
So then the ending was appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get to that, right, Ben?
Yeah. Mary, did you have any thoughts of when she first goes back to confront Nick and how that sort of like the ending is set up, I guess?
Right. It just, you knew something was coming. You knew, he was gonna jump her or something. I wasn't expecting the trap she fixed.
Yeah.
She used that, got him.
Yeah, he was preparing. Well, before we get into that sort of ending, Mike, what did you think about stuff like going into that third act, the setup for the ending?
I thought it was really good. I thought that I like that smaller productions really, seem to have more guts and are willing to go for it than the big movie houses nowadays. And they really went for it here. This is, I thought it was great.
It's bleak.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's bleak.
Oh yeah, it's bleak and it's uncompromising, and it's about as brutal as it gets. You would never see this from a big, Universal or WB or some kind of production like this. But I mean, essentially to wipe the 2/3 of the main cast. I mean, to take Devon Sawa out in the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see that. I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it, maybe 3 times. I didn't see that coming when that happened. And then go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say we haven't heard anything about Devon Sawa since Nick Stahl got back.
Yeah.
But when we find out that he's dead, it's kind of a big bummer, because we I don't know.
You thought he might be hurt.
Yeah, we're rooting for him, right?
Yeah, you're rooting for the family. I mean, they're sort of aggravating in that, they're just stubborn that way. But that doesn't mean you want him to get killed by a, freaking, mass killer.
Yeah,
I thought maybe he was wounded out in the woods or something.
And of all the people, and in that way, it sort of reminded me of, and I know this is going to sound like a far reach, but it reminded me of Alien. And that, the last person standing is the last person you expect.
Yeah.
you know, you figure it's going to be Tom Skerritt or, you know, Yaphet Kotto or, you know, something like that, you know, and, you know, all the people just get wiped off the board. You're like, holy shit, you know, this is really going for it here. Kind of cool. Kind of cool.
Sorry, my dog sees somebody outside. She's starting to growl.
Watch out! Watch out! It could be
That's a
Nick
wolf
Stahl.
out there. She's ready.
Could be
Nick
Nick Stahl.
Stahl. Yeah, it could be Nick Stahl. It could be worse than a wolf out there.
Get Rick Stahl.
Before we find out that Joe's dead, I'm still thinking that he's out in the woods. Maybe he's the one that's still the serial killer.
Oh, did you really think that? Really? Okay.
I did.
Okay.
That he wounded Lou, who did make it to the cabin, and you know, your husband's been lying to you this whole time. I was waiting for that line, and it never came. And then we finally realized that Lou is in fact the killer. And but I still think that in my mind that Joe's still out there wounded or kind of like in sniper mode, trying to get back to his family and just like Red Riding Hood. You know, he's just gonna burst in and start hacking that wolf up. But no, I mean, there's nothing like that at all. Yeah,
I thought like I never once watching that movie thought that he was the killer. But I did think like at some point, okay, we know Nick Stahl is. I mean, from my perspective, I was like, obviously, there's a small cast. That dude is the killer. Yeah. And so like, the whole time you're waiting for him to come back and have a confrontation with the dude, right? So when we find out that he's dead, it's a little, like, oh shit.
Yeah. It was shocking because you think that Devon Sawa's character is this master huntsman, that he would be able to see that coming a mile away, right? But I mean, just being dead there was just like, okay.
Yeah.
But maybe because he was out in the woods all the time, he wasn't good with people. He didn't catch the signs, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, well, he didn't have to hunt a werewolf before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different hunting a deer that's just going to sit there and, kind of, look at you, kind of, sort of, and the wife wasn't there a scene in there where like, and she could barely kill a rabbit.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, this entire time, everything that you see, especially leading up to Nick Stahl, proves that they had no business being out there. They're just outmatched.
That's a pretty important scene because, well, first off, I mean, she like killed that rabbit with her bare fucking hands. I mean, that's pretty, I think a lot of people would have a hard time doing that. But we do see that, like, killing an animal for sustenance is still a big, like, she has a conflict about it, right? I mean, she cries, but we also don't know if she's just like at her emotional end because her husband's been gone, and like, I mean, it's just like a breakdown moment from all the stress of everything. But it is an important moment because we see a different side of her coming up here in a little bit, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You thought killing a rabbit was bad.
Yeah. Well, and also earlier in the movie, when the husband's gone and they kill that baby deer, she's like, talks to Renee and she's like, hey, I know your father's been teaching you how to skin animals. I've never done it. Can you show me how to do it? And so the daughter, the young protege, becomes the mentor there for the mom, and teaches her how to skin a deer, which comes into play here in a second. But I mean, basically, at this point, so let's go back to where Nick Stahl is like getting rid of evidence and all that. And we see him switch into like serial killer mode, right? Puts his Walkman on, and he's sort of like in that moment, he's reveling in his sort of like ritual, I guess it is, whatever it is. We don't really know if he's going to like sexually assault her or what he's going to do.
Beating his chest.
Yeah, beating his chest, being like a big weird fucking psychopath. Mm-hmm. She reaches over and grabs a trap that she had been working on and fucking slams it in his face, right?
Yep.
And then I believe she also knocks him out, right? Hits him with something when he's like there.
Yeah, I don't know. She hits him with something. I don't know what she gets him with, but she gets him.
But I was rooting for her, so I was glad to see Nick Stahl's face get trapped like that.
I'm going to tell Nick you said that.
Yeah, he's done.
He's coming for you.
I know. Please don't. I don't want to have to lay out those bear traps around my apartment again.
Just
hell.
around the edges.
Yeah, let them come in. Let them meet the boys.
He'll get terrorized by some kaiju.
Hell yes, he would.
But yeah, we see basically she knocks him out, and this is her first chance to go in and check on her daughter, make sure her daughter's okay. And we just see her walk in, and we see the look on her face, and it's total defeat. Her whole world's been stripped from her.
And then it changes to a different face.
Yeah, she has nothing. Her husband's gone, her daughter's gone, and she just goes into like brutality mode, right?
Yeah.
Take them out to the skinning shed, and
to the skinning shed.
shed puts his Walkman on, so she gets into like his serial killer mode, and she's listening to the music while she's skinning him alive. I guess fucking brutal, man.
Yeah, that one she gets behind the ear one. That one's she gets the face off.
It's brutal, but yet also like super
like
satisfying.
Dexter, right? Like Dexter.
Yeah.
You want to see Nick Stahl like get his comeuppance for like, well, first off being a fucking serial killer, but secondly for murdering Joe and Renee, right? I mean, especially Renee, because kids rarely get murdered in movies, though. I'm seeing it a lot more and
Still
more.
not sure if he did the dog in too.
I think the wolf, wasn't it?
I think I got the feeling that it was a wolf. Otherwise,
I mean, he would give him away if he was out there. The dog would come out and find him. So I don't know if he killed the dog too. They didn't show the wounds. They just kind of like showed feet.
I mean, I feel like he could have killed the dog because the dog could have bit his leg and been the thing that wounded him.
Right.
You know, because I still don't think he got caught up in a trap. I don't think that. It's just my personal thoughts. I don't think that he was taking him on a sled back after he caught him to their cabin for whatever reason. I think he would have just shot him and left him out there, you know. Plus, the traps were still set when the cop got out there.
That's right. Maybe he hit another one. Because they were all over the place, speckled around.
Yeah.
Unless you got the map of traps.
Were they Joe's traps or were they loose traps?
They were Joe's traps, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I thought so too.
Because he went out there to hunt the hunter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, now the cops are now scanning the sort of they're looking. They're just on the hunt for whatever the fuck. They found this killing ground and they're investigating. So they're out there cruising around. They see the fire from Nick Stahl, the smoke from him burning evidence, and they go out to investigate. And what they stumble upon is her walking out of the shed with his face in her hand, and she just sort of casts it aside and just walks sort of like in a daze, listening to the music still. And we hear the music as she's walking, and just sits down until she turns off the Walkman, and then we get credits. But hell of an ending, man.
Yeah, they went for it.
They went for it. I mean, not only did they kill the daughter, but she got like some serious revenge on him. And when the cops go in after she throws the face, the cops go in, and we see he's still alive. He can't blink or anything. He's just like, you know, so he's still alive, and we're like, oh, good. I hope he's suffering like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah, yes. Flaying is a horrific death. Horrific.
I've never flayed anyone, but I'll take your word on that, Patrick.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of videos, and let me tell you, it is an evil way to go. Evil.
We used to do it to the deer upstate in New York, upstate
Not
New York.
while they're alive, though, right?
Well, they're alive.
No, there are no.
Yeah.
No, fish.
Yeah, there's a substantive difference between
fish you can. Fish you do it sometimes, and they're kicking.
Usually with fish, the head would get the chop.
Yeah, you can chop it.
The head would get
Or
the
give it a
chop,
little
and
knock.
then you disembowel it, and then then you'd start flaking, the scales.
I'm definitely not an outdoorsman, so like I have like if there's like chicken that gets served to me, I'll take the skin off usually, but that's about it.
You're flying the chicken. Yeah. Flying the Colonel's chicken.
Yeah, the Colonel's chicken. What did the Colonel say?
But just a brutal ending, but also like it feels like a real good payoff. It's like you get a real sense of like fulfillment after watching that.
Justice served.
Yeah,
this was one of those movies. I wanted to mention this in the beginning. It reminded me of that. It sort of falls into the category with that movie Underwater with Kristen Stewart.
I've only seen parts of that. It looks good too.
It's so good. It's so good. But it survived the chopping block at the time of COVID.
Yeah,
there were a bunch of movies that just got chopped, and they closed the movie houses, and I guess the companies ate the costs, and so on and so forth. And this was one of those movies that actually survived, like Underwater. And I'm glad it did, but excuse me, like Underwater, nobody's seen it, and so it remains, a small sort of treat for people that know.
I feel like more people saw Underwater than Hunter x Hunter, though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they probably did. Yeah, I mean, that actually got a small theatrical release. I think it came out like a month before.
Yeah, Hunter. IFC. This is part of the problem. It's like a lot of the IFC movies that come out at the IFC Center in New York, and and of course this just brings into a larger problem, and that is, it's hard getting them out, their movies out, as far as larger theatrical releases, which actually doesn't make any sense at all. IFC should be able to get their movies out at least to the AMC chain. It's because AMC actually owns them, which really is perplexing to me. It's like, why don't you at least allow these movies to come out and set up at the smallest theater you have for a week or two?
Marketing is extremely expensive. Marketing for a film, it could almost cost it could almost double the cost of what it originally the budget for the film might actually be. I think one of the things with IFC too, is that a lot of their movies, even there are a lot of good ones. I mean, that's why we're here, but they don't carry a big name. A lot of times, the actors are, like a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know who Devon Sawa was. We do. We know very well. We know who Nick Stahl is. I'll go see anything with Nick Stahl. Like I said, right now he's doing the Let the Right One In. He's part of that storyline. But yeah, it becomes they have a marketing problem, and some of their casting with lesser known actors. It's hard to get the word out.
Yeah, I agree. The IFC at Midnight is, I've watched their movies for a long time, and you're right. The IFC films themselves, you'll always see a big name attached to IFC films. IFC Midnight, yeah, it's a little bit harder. A lot of them are independent from other countries as well, like like The Vigil. No one's going to know anybody in this movie. Nobody. Right. But the thing is though, it's like, as far as the film marketing goes, it is expensive, but in a sense, it doesn't have to be expensive. There's so many outlets out there now that will talk about your movie if you let them know about it. If you sit there and say, "Hey, talk about this," and a lot of times people do. Like we're doing this. We covered a lot of smaller films that no one else has done that I've seen. And you know what? I think more film companies need to do grassroots marketing. They shouldn't aim for network TV or what have you, because network TV is the dying beast. It's no longer has the power it used to have.
They haven't caught up to that yet. At best they've thought to maybe go to the streaming services, and the streaming bubble is about to burst anyway. So
yeah, I agree.
A lot of these shows are getting they're canceling left and right. programming left and right as they're cutting costs because they're not getting the subscriber numbers that they were getting for a while now. COVID's, kind of tapering off for the most part, and, people are going out again and so on and so forth. And so, it's
I
tough
agree
sell.
with you.
It's tough sell.
Well, I'm glad we're doing shows like this, because again, it comes out there and because you look at the box office for Hunter x Hunter, which was, according to what I see here, was like a little over $32,000. Then you hope that it recoups this money through streaming, what have you, or home release, like we pretty much all have copies of the movie. You hope that happens. Yeah, and most of the IFC movies, it seems to be like they're almost released with one thing in mind, and that is to build a cult following. A lot of these IFC midnight movies are cult followers, and you know what? That's good. I like that. But Jesus, just for once, I'd like to see them get a chance to play on an even playing field.
These maybe it's for the best. Sometimes it's like the difference between stadium rock, and the bands of the 80s and 90s that played in bars, in very small venues. The people who knew where to go, and everyone else went to go see U2 or whatever they saw, and maybe sometimes it's better that things stay small.
Maybe, but then when you hear people talk about movies like The Witch or Hereditary or whatnot, and they're praising them left and right, you go like, I've seen those movies and they hold their own. They're good movies, but they're not better. They're not better than this. But you know what? How would anybody know? Because they don't get a chance to see them. They won't.
We shall tell them.
Well, yes, we do. One person at a time. But we don't get like Hereditary got a main, like let's look at Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 got what every single independent movie maker wants. It got a chance to get played at a theater, and lo and behold, look what happened. It was played as a joke. It was like, okay, we're gonna throw it out there, let it go out there for a few days. We'll get one weekend out of it, then we'll do the streaming. But all of a sudden, people went and saw it and discovered it. And it took on a life of its own because it got a damn chance. It got a chance to be seen by across the country. And then
that's a good thing.
Well, you know what? It is. It is a good thing. You might not like the film, but you gotta like the fact that it got a chance to do it. Because now maybe the door opened just a little bit. The door opened a little bit for movies like Hunter x Hunter.
I gotta say, by the way, Hereditary is a better film than Hunter x Hunter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just Barna, so for the record.
Yeah, we can always backtrack and say that Patrick's wrong about that. Everybody knows. No, I'm just kidding.
You're fine, Patrick. The Wretched did well in theaters.
Yeah, they got a chance because of COVID. The Wretched and Relic and Swallow all got chance because of that. And you would think that, yeah, okay, great. Look what they did when they got a chance to open. So, but as soon as we opened the theaters, all of a sudden the screens were shut to them again. Now you can't get your movie on the screen again.
Yeah, but if you look at what A24 has a much larger casting pool. Hereditary has Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne. Yeah. Those are huge names. People know those names. Those are A-level. It's almost out of character in the sense that they're starring in these, sort of, satanic grooming horror movies. But you put those names together and you're like, holy shit, or like After Yang has Colin Farrell, but, most of those, The Rover, that has, Pattinson and, oh God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Pierce. Yeah, Guy Pearce. Those are A-list stars.
Lighthouse.
And so the Lighthouse has Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. IFC, I think, in order to expand, and this goes outside their budget, and that's part of the problem is getting bigger names like they did with the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox and Emil Hirsch.
Yeah.
William
Dafoe did Antichrist.
Yeah, I'm just like, holy shit, is that Brian Cox? Okay, and because I saw Brian Cox, I started watching it. And I was, okay, he's in a horror. And I like Emil Hirsch. I remember Lords of Dogtown. It's one of my favorite movies. And I was like, oh shit, okay. And that's what drew me in. It was the name recognition. Because I knew Brian Cox doesn't do trash.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the IFC films themselves, they tend to do draw a bigger name. I mean, you have Paul Rudd doing the Catcher Was a Spy. You got him doing that. You got I mean, give me a minute, I could go bring out the IFC films, and they have tons of stars in it. Big stars, but they still suffer the same fate. They still suffer the same fate of not being getting out to the big. And I'm not just talking about them. We're talking like films from Logo USA. I mean, those are freaking phenomenal films, amazing films. But they rarely get the chance to go on the big screen.
Yeah, one of my favorite IFCs is I Trapped the Devil. It was our Christmas movie last year, and I mean, nobody knows what that is. Written and directed by Josh Lobo. It's a fantastic film. Yeah. Fantastic. But if you were to try to list the credited actors, even I own a copy, and I probably couldn't tell you who was in it. I know who the director is. Phenomenal movie.
Well, this is why I say this every month, and I'll say it again. But this is just why I like doing this show, because we are trying to bring a little light to superior movies. And I can't wait to get a copy of it to watch it. I mean, you guys did it justice tonight. I mean, as far as describing it and talking about it, it's Hunter. I mean, it sounded phenomenal even before. It even sounds even better now, thanks to you guys' description of it and talking about it. It sounds even more of a badass movie than it was going into it. And that's exciting. That's exciting to hear. It's exciting to hear you guys. You can hear you guys can really tell that you guys are really into the films, and and I'm glad of that. I mean, they're fantastic. Again, next month, The Vigil. It's out. I mean, as far as I know, you can probably get this on all the usual suspects. I got my copy at Walmart, so it's not that old of a movie. So,
have you guys seen the movie It Comes at Night?
I like it.
Is it similar to this movie?
No. This one is this is actually based in Jewish lore. Basically, a man is hired to guard over a person who has passed away. Yeah, there and then all sorts of shenanigans happen.
No, I meant is It Comes at Night? Is it similar to Hunter x Hunter, where you got this?
It Comes at Night is similar in the sense that there's a sense of isolation throughout It Comes at Night. Okay. It Comes at Night was kind of mismarketed, and I think a lot of people, when they saw it, didn't like it because their expectations were for something different. But I liked It Comes at Night as a film.
It's another survivalist movie, right? There's like a catastrophe.
Yeah.
It's
post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
But it's also like another where you have like a family, you have a mother, a father, and a son living, in this isolated lifestyle because of this.
It's Joel Edgerton, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't like Edgerton. Something about him.
Really?
Yeah. If I see him in a movie, I usually like click right past. I'm like, no, thanks.
Was he in The Gift?
You know what? I'm like that. I have actors like that. If I see their name, I'll just go right by it.
Yeah. Like,
no. I can't think of anyone who I'll just like write off like that, just based on them being an actor.
Oh.
I could think of a few, but for some reason I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Like Michael Madsen.
SJP.
You don't like Reservoir Dogs?
That was back then. I'm talking about now. The work he does now is just really, really bad.
I don't know if I've seen him in anything lately.
Shit, hold on.
When I say lately, I mean since the 90s.
Yeah.
He's just not very good now.
That.
Well, last I saw him was The Hateful Eight. That was the last I saw of him, and he was only in that briefly. I mean, he really didn't have a big role.
No. I did see Hateful Eight. I thought it was pretty good. Not my favorite.
It was pretty good. Netflix has a version that with an additional hour, but they broke it into 4 pieces. It's like 4 one-hour episodes. It's actually worth watching.
Hey, Cody.
Cody in the house. What's up, dude? Yeah, I mean, some actors, I guess I won't like Kristen Stewart. I don't think is a great actress or anything, but like Underwater, I was still on board for it.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of hers. Which is funny because I started out making fun, and I actually tried to watch. I actually did watch the first 2 Twilight movies, and they're fucking awful.
Kristen Stewart has done a lot of IFC movies. A lot.
Personal Shopper.
Personal Shopper, Clouds of St. Silas, Camp X-Ray. Tons of there's more. I have a lot of Kristen Stewart movies. I mentioned that to you, Mike. I don't know how it happened, but I do. I end up like looking around. I'm like, I have a lot of Kristen Stewart movies here.
I'm a huge fan. I just saw the new Cronenberg movie, Crimes of the Future.
I still haven't seen that one.
She's in it. It's a weird movie. It's a weird man. She plays a weird person, but she's good. She's really good.
I liked her in Panic Room with Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah, that's right. I always forget she's in there. She's the little kid. Yeah, she's the little kid. I heard that the Walk the Cinema podcast that does a lot of shows with me. They advocated for me to watch Spencer.
I got that too.
That's on Hulu. I heard she's really good. I heard she's really, really good.
I got that one too.
Yeah. Hey, I watched The Crown. I mean, I'm mesmerized. Like between Matt Smith and Claire Foy, and then whoever else is playing what. I started out with those 2, and I've been watching it every season since.
Letting everybody know the folks who just got here late. I do hope that you guys will go back and watch the replay for Hunter x Hunter. Tremendous discussion for this film by Ben, Mike, Mary, and David. You really owe it to yourselves to go back and give it a listen. Excellent discussion.
If you haven't seen it though, it's streaming right now on Hulu. So don't maybe watch it first and then come back, because our discussion is full of spoilers.
Right, yeah, it's a good idea.
Discussion is full of spoilers. So if you're just coming in now, go to Hulu, Hunter x Hunter. I think it's like 85 minutes. It's not a long movie.
Unless they just want to hear us tell the story.
Yeah.
It's
like the Reading Rainbow of IFC.
It is it's 93 minutes.
Okay.
It's a slower paced movie, but I was engaged the whole time.
It's not an action movie. Yeah, it's not an action movie.
No, but it's like, who done it? Who's doing it?
This is why it reminded me of Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk, where Kurt Russell's in a Western, and you think you're thinking Tombstone, or you're thinking Hateful Eight, because they just came out around the same time, and it's not that kind of movie. It's not an action movie. It's not, but it's a good fucking movie. Yeah. Great script, good performances, an ending that satisfies. So yeah, what's not to like? Yeah. And Nick Stahl.
Nick Stahl's really good in it. I would say David's saying 7.5 out of 10 for him. How would you rate it, Mike?
1 to 10?
Yeah.
I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7.5. 7.5. That's a solid. Yeah. I mean, but if we start to move outside of that number, then we have to start to get into, like a different level of film. But for what this was, and yeah, I mean, it works. It works.
Yeah, I think it's 7 too.
7.
Yeah.
I would say 7.5 to 8. I might go 8 on it. Just if someone asked me how I felt and they hadn't seen it, I'd say 8 to convince them to watch it. It's not like a altogether like Cody wants to know on my scale of nuts. I would say it felt like they were getting gently massaged for this one.
Weren't they cutting them off and hanging them on the wire in the window?
Yeah,
or getting them skinned off your body while you're still alive.
That's like watching Twilight. But this felt like a gentle massage. the end is let's see, Haunted by Horror saying the end is good film, end is kind of crazy. I loved the ending. I thought like the ending is in my mind going into that third act, you know what I mean? Like I might have been at a 7 or something, but the ending like bumped it up tremendously for me.
Yeah, if it was just the movie without that ending, I would say a 6.5. But that
if she just like shot him or something, or like just like, you know, he died with a bear trap on his face, but the actual
oh god,
like, the last I don't know 3 minutes of that movie really defines that film for me. You know what I mean?
I watched the movie and immediately texted Ben. That movie was awesome.
Yeah.
My son thought she was going to eat him. It's like she ate the baby deer. She was going to eat that guy.
It wouldn't have surprised me at that point,
right?
You know.
Well, it's
Jesus.
me.
Yeah.
I put the ending in my Instagram stories, just a shot of the ending, and I didn't feel like it was a spoiler because I didn't put the name of the movie.
Right.
And then at some point, everyone would be like, "Fuck, dude, that's a brutal ass movie." And someday they just watch it and they'd be like, "Oh shit, that's what that was from."
Yeah.
But you're
that, or you just put it out there, then don't put any links to it. Just sit out there and just wait till people start asking you, "What's this about? What's this about? What movie is this?" And then you can slide your link over and have them come over and watch the replay.
Well, that's what I did. I like
guerrilla marketing.
A few people because I just put it with the caption like "That's how you end a movie." Clap, clap, clap emoji. But then like a few people asked and I said, "You sure you want me to tell you? It'll be kind of like a spoiler if you know." And they said, "Yeah, tell me." So I told 2 different people asked what movie it was, and I told them.
Now David has to put that in his trivia snippets. Name that movie.
I will.
In your trivia.
Hobbs, you can still watch this. Like I said, I watched it more than once, and I still loved it second viewing. So
yeah, you can watch it more than once.
It's definitely worth checking out, even if you know the entire story.
Yeah. There's real tension. There's real suspense. There's real dread. Yeah, and that's because of solid performances.
Execution of the story is good.
Yeah. It's not just gore for gore's sake. There's actually a story here.
Which is also not bad. Speaking of Terrifier 2.
I was going to say Terrifier 2.
Is there a story in that?
You know what I liked about Terrifier 2?
I don't know why I asked that, but okay. All right, go ahead.
Why don't we have David answer that question?
Yeah.
Well, let me answer that question. The thing about Terrifier 2 is like you might say the same thing about a Fulci movie. Like the narrative is funky as shit. Like I always think of Fulci as being like, I'm watching a movie is like having like a 6-year-old kid try to tell you a story, and you know, and like it's like filtered through a 6-year-old kid's mind, but it's so fucking endearing nonetheless. It's just a charming thing. It's like the experience of watching it.
Charming thing. That's interesting.
Watching Christopher George get his head cracked open like an egg.
Well, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass. I'm
thinking expressly of Lucio Fulci movies like House by the Cemetery. There's like strong atmosphere. The kid actor is a piece of shit, and you hate him. The storytelling is goofy as fuck.
Yeah,
but it's a charming movie. It's my favorite Fulci movie. And Terrifier 2 reminded me of it because it's very surreal. It's like not based in any kind of like grounded narrative. It's just the experience of watching it is something else. And I like that about it. I think trying to tell a cohesive narrative would have been a mistake, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, okay, this isn't going to hold up under any sort of. Okay.
I did quite enjoy Terrifier 2, though.
Okay. I love the actor. He's such a cool guy.
Great.
I just watched the first one last Sunday. You know, so that was the first one for me, and I thought it was a hoot.
I love the first one too. They're like experience movies. Like you don't watch them like it's the same with like Phantasm, right? The story is just not the thing that's driving that film. It's the atmosphere and the sort of experience of watching it. Fog too, for and Suspiria for that matter. Either one. I know you don't like the original, Mike, but
yeah.
But like,
I just don't like Argento movies.
Well, I would say like you know, like him or hate him. I mean, that movie is well renowned, and the story is the weakest part of that film, I think. So hey, give Terrifier 2 a chance, dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's fun.
definitely. I'm so happy. Obviously, the biggest thing was hopefully for them to get a home release of it, and they're already showing the cover of the movies before they got released. So we know we're getting it. So
It's already released, dude. There's already
Yeah.
a Region B release of it.
right. So it was out in, I think it was out in B than it was more than here. I think it was released there than here.
It's not
So,
released here.
huh?
It's not released here.
No, it's released in the UK. That's where I
Yeah.
saw it. I saw the people in the UK were showing covers and stuff of the movies. So
They didn't get a theatrical release like we did, so they just released it pretty quick over there. And for
okay.
something like it got leaked onto YouTube for it was up for a long time. The full
Right.
film in full HD with a Screambox logo in the beginning.
A
And
whole bunch of people were dropping it.
Yeah,
on
I saw
YouTube.
that. Yeah, a ton of people were sharing links with that.
and you know, I mean, that movie, $200,000 budget, and it's been really very financially successful in the box office.
That's amazing. The effects they did now were great.
$200,000 that's a labor of love. That's, I mean, it's a lot of money. You know, if someone just said, "Hey, can you hold this $200,000 for me in this briefcase?" You'd be like, "Fuck, dude, awesome."
A couple of the kills were amazing. Like, wow, that looks real.
I mean, just like if Art the Clown, I think is whether you like the movies or not, David Howard Thornton does a very good job of portraying him in it's like, you know, a dialogue-less character, and so like this is all physical acting. He does a good job.
He's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal, but
He
like,
really is. I love the fact they kept him quiet. I really do. I really do. I think it really adds everything to it. You know,
and he pulls anything out of that bag.
Oh yeah, because he's quiet vocally, but he's not quiet. You know, like all his acting is just all through his facial expressions and motions. I mean, he's not quiet. He's pretty loud if you're paying attention.
He's got more presence than any silent character should, right, on screen. Mike, you may absolutely hate that film. I wouldn't say that. It's getting a lot of hype, and I quite enjoyed it. It's not a masterpiece film, you know, by masterpiece film standards. The narrative doesn't make a lot of sense. It's goofy as shit. It's long as fuck for a slasher movie.
I don't understand.
I liked it better than Barbarian.
I like Barbarian a lot, actually.
Barbarian a lot too.
I didn't see that yet either.
Too. I don't know. It's all the action, I guess.
Barbarian was good. I think the less you know going into that, the better. So I won't say anything about the synopsis or anything, but you should definitely check it out, Mike. Okay. The way that film, I've watched it twice now, actually.
Barbarian.
The camera work and the set pieces and the lighting is just like that. It's all excellent, dude. And sound design all like really plays into like a lot of tension. It's a very good film.
Okay. Have you guys seen The Invitation?
I love that movie.
I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's basically a remake of The Brides of Dracula, if I'm not mistaken, the old Hammer classic, right?
I haven't seen Brides of Dracula. The Invitation, is it the one with the dinner party?
Yeah, with Natalie Emmanuel from Game of Thrones.
I always think of the actor who looks like Tom Hardy, and I always call him Tom Hardley.
I don't know. Yeah, that I don't know. Okay, hold on. I just saw it here because
I'm talking about the 2015 film.
No, this is this year.
Oh, I have not seen the one from this year.
That's the vampire flick.
Yeah, it's a vampire flick about vampires.
Okay.
A woman is invited to a luxurious destination wedding, unaware of the horrors she will soon face. Yeah. So it's 3 hours and 31 minutes.
What?
I'm looking here. Invitation
What?
2022. It says hour 44 minutes.
I don't know. I'm looking here on Amazon.
Oh, that's got to be different, Mike. I know
That's
movies.
got to be Blu-ray and DVD mixed together times or something.
Yeah. So that thing came out on I think Sony released it. It was a PG-13.
Yeah.
And maybe
we're talking about a different
Hold
movie.
on, I'll put a link in the private chat. Here it is. Okay, that's a really long fucking link, but okay.
44 minutes.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, yeah, I'm reading what it says here. But they're giving it 4 stars, and it looks interesting. It looked really gory when I saw it. I think I saw the trailer when I went to go see the Cursed. When I went to go see the Cursed this year, and it looked like, oh shit, like they really might be going for some serious gore here. And I'm kind of curious about it. That was another movie this year that I saw, or that I want to see.
Did you see The Invitation from 2015 though?
No, I don't think maybe. I mean, it doesn't sound.
Give that one a watch. I think it's on Netflix. It's awesome, dude. It's like I love stories like this. It's basically all in this house. This couple goes to the male's ex's dinner party, and so there's all this weird tension, and something is off, and it just keeps building. Like it's one of these stories like. People want to be polite, and so they don't like call out things that are distressing them or anything like that.
It sounds familiar. Yeah, it sounds familiar. Okay.
I loved it, dude. I loved it.
Okay, I'll take a look. One of the ones that I saw this year that was fucking amazing, and it's on Shudder. It's called The Innocents.
Oh, that's on my list.
Oh, I want to see that. Yeah.
It's a Dutch film.
I started it.
Oh, it's so fun. It's like Brightburn, but without the over the top thing going. So it just smolders the entire time with these brief flashes of spark, and you're just like, holy shit, this is fantastic. And it's just a good insight as to like how fucked up little kids can actually be. Because they just with zero empathy, and that they just sort of do things. Yeah. Holy shit, that movie was good.
It's definitely in my list, but I haven't watched it yet.
And they got that new 101 Scariest Movie Moments.
Yeah, I watched that.
I like that new list.
Yeah,
I like that new list.
I watched some of that in the background while I was working.
It'll drive Patrick crazy. Hereditary was number 3.
Yeah, it was.
For what movie?
101 Scariest Movie Moments.
Oh, brother. The only thing that scared me was not a scary movie. The movie's crap.
I mean, I think
I don't really like it either.
It's like clearly not crap though.
They totally misused totally misused their cast. Toni Collette went all Al Pacino. The only thing missing in Hereditary was her eating grass.
Ben, it's like Devon Sawa. He's not going to say it. He's not going to say it. So,
I mean, you may not like it, and you may have issues with it, but you are like
overrated.
I know David didn't necessarily love it either, but that does not make it shit. I mean,
no.
The Witch was. I like The Witch so much better. That's yeah.
I like
the thing is like I don't like. It's not like I'd hate A24 films because like I've obviously shown you guys already. I don't have to do this again. You guys aren't going to do that. I will do this. Okay, I will show you.
You're going to do it next month too, so
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Hold on. Give me 1 second, and then you guys can see what I'm talking about here.
What part?
I would say. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm reading the comment. It said, "What part of Hereditary was the moment that made that list?" And I think it was the dream that she had with her son.
Oh, yeah.
Where she admitted she didn't want to be his mother.
Yeah.
It was
and then it turns into the paint thinner, and he's covered in the ants, and it's like layer after layer after layer.
Oh my!
It was a scene in his bedroom. We see her in the corner.
If you wanted to show,
that was it too. Yeah, that was in there too. Yeah.
So if you wanted to spotlight this, Ben, on this single, so you guys can get a good look at this.
God.
So these are my A24 films. So I don't hate them. I just put them in perspective. So.
But you put them in skewed perspective based on the fact that they're from A24.
He's got to qualify them. He's got to qualify them.
These aren't even all that I own. I still own several more that I have to find in my collection. So I probably have close to damn near 50 of these puppies.
I feel
go ahead. Sorry.
I feel like if we could hypnotize you, like, and post suggestively, like, make you realize that, like, every time you see A24, it actually says IFC Midnight, that you would be singing the praises of all those movies.
He'd reject it. He'd reject the post-hypnotic suggestion. It's not an IFC Midnight session if we don't razz Patrick about A24 for about 5 or 10 minutes. So, that's part of the format. After the grading, then we just start, someone randomly brings up an A24, a casual nudge.
I will say Patrick has an issue with Toni Collette's performance, which I personally thought was fantastic.
Yes.
I thought it was masterfully put together from cinematography, editing, though I thought the end dragged us slightly. But I think it hit a peak and then kept going for slightly too long.
Like an hour too long, you think, maybe?
I think like maybe a minute, maybe like 70 seconds or something.
I was thinking more like an hour. I thought an hour, but okay.
It really might be my number one horror.
Is that your favorite A24 film, Mike?
It might be my favorite horror flick. Period.
Really?
I think it's the best of the last 20 years at least.
I watched that. When I was living overseas, I would come home and see my folks for a couple of weeks, and this, that, and the other. And one night I was spending the night at their house or something, and I couldn't sleep because of the time difference. Suddenly I'm 8,000 miles back here, and I was looking for something to watch, and so I just pulled out like my iPad, and I'm like, okay, let me see if I can pull something up on. I think it was on Prime. And I was like, well, what the hell? It was like midnight, 1 o'clock. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I just put my headphones and watched it. And I remember waking up the next morning saying, I just saw the greatest horror movie that I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'd never heard of it before, and was just stunned. And it's just I don't even watch it because I don't want it to get old to me or get stale to me. Like, it's a movie I've seen it maybe 3 times. Or something like that, but
I'm surprised such a piece of shit non-IFC Midnight movie is your favorite horror film, dude. That's crazy.
No, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I'm thinking of all the great horror films out there. I'm just like, do you like this better than The Exorcist? Do you like this better than?
It's equal to.
I like it. I'm not a big fan of The Exorcist. It's a good film, but I like it more than The Exorcist personally.
I know Hereditary is your number one favorite horror film, Ben.
It's not my number one favorite horror film. That would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That was the number one on the list on the 101 scariest movie moments. That was number one, TCM. But the thing about The Exorcist is it's 5 different movies.
Yeah.
Like there are 5 different. You could have 5 separate movies. There's Father Merrin. He realizes in the first 5 minutes of the movie he's going to die. It's Father Karras. He's lost his faith. Kinderman. He's trying to solve a murder. The kid going through the, spiraling out from divorce. And then you've got the possession on top of it. Like any one of those could be its own unique movie. And they brought them all together in one flick. And that's why.
I think the theatrical cut, I think the director's cut that everyone seems to prefer has pacing issues for me. And I prefer the theatrical cut, but I think it's still a good film either way. I'm not the biggest fan like everyone else seems to be of it.
I think this new re-release that they put out also has a score that isn't in the original, and I think the score takes something away from it. Actually,
unfortunately for me, you guys keep rocking it on. I gotta bow out because I gotta go get ready for the society at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so do I. I gotta eat some dinner.
But I love it. And next month again, will be on my channel, and we'll be covering The Vigil. I can't wait for it. And I'll be trying to get a copy of Hunter x Hunter in the interim, so I can talk a little bit about that next month as well. Yeah, but thanks so much for hosting us, Ben. And as always, it's always love the discussion.
Indeed, everyone watching in the chat and the rewatch, we haven't had a lot of viewers this stream, but definitely go check out all these people's socials and whatnot. And thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Later, everybody.